we're moving from art directors doing everything by hand to doing everything on a computer. And I can remember a very well-respected older gentleman, he was one of the creative directors there, who was adamant that he was not going to use a computer, that he was going to keep doing things with his sketch pen and all of the other things. Well, you know what? 6 months later, we had a retirement party for him. All we can do is show our employees the power of AI and how it actually makes them better at their job and lets them do more of the work that we all love to do, that deep strategic thinking. And if they're not willing to embrace it, if they're not willing to experiment with it, if they're not willing to be open to the fact that maybe it's a tool that would make them better at their job, then very quickly they're going to become obsolete, and we will be having retirement parties for them too.
On Creative Assembly's The Spark podcast, our mission is to amplify Nashville's diverse creative voices, foster growth through shared journeys, and inspire a city that thrives on collaboration. And now, here's The Spark.
Welcome back to The Spark. I'm your host, Mark Scrivener, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, a great friend, Drew McLellan. He's with the Agency Management Institute and the Build a Better Agency podcast, which is the #1 agency podcast in the world. He also runs a big conference for agency owners out in Denver every year in May. It's called the Build a Better Agency Summit, and today we're going to dig into a lot of research and a report that he releases at this summit every year. So, you know, our audience is going to be privy to some information that most people have to go to the conference, and I'm very thankful, Drew, that you're on the show and get to help us learn about what's happening in the agency world.
I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, Drew, let's maybe just talk a little bit about the Build a Better Agency Summit, some of the research maybe that that you've dug into, and maybe give us what's the big headline this year?
The big headline this year is that for agencies, this is a year of and this sounds ridiculous because everybody knows it, but it's a year of great change. And what's going to happen is, I think it is a moment of reflection and decision for a lot of agency owners. So the summit is focused on really future-proofing your agency and recognizing that if your agency is going to be around 3 to 5 years from now, it is not going to look like what it looks like today. So we have some big decisions to make.
Yeah. What, I guess what surprised you the most out of this year's data? Anything?
There's always surprises. So some of the surprises are how intolerant clients are getting around some of the behaviors that agencies have lived on for years. So I'll give you a great example. They don't want account people to be order takers. They really need, as AI comes in and we can do all kinds of things through those tools that we used to either do in-house or with an agency, where they really perceive the value of a human being, of an agency, is around strategy. And so having an account service person who is kind of just taking the order, like, hey, this is what I think I want to do, who's not pushing back, who's not asking questions, who's not bringing them new ideas, their tolerance for that is getting smaller and shorter for sure.
Yeah, so the agencies that show up for a call and they're just checking the box on a checklist of here's all the tactics.
Right, or here's the projects. Let me run you through what we're working on and where we're at with everything, but isn't bringing a strategic value, an insight, a point of view to those conversations. The value of those kinds of people is diminishing really rapidly.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the world today, and I guess a lot of things that affect agencies. Are we looking healthy right now, or do you feel like we're in a little bit of a correction?
I think it's both. I think the correction is that if you're not continuing to evolve, the long-term opportunity for your agency is getting shorter and shorter. And so in some ways it's a correction, which is clients aren't tolerating what we've put on the table in the past. But I think the opportunity is for the agencies that evolve. So when we look at the agencies inside the AMI community, the reality is 70% of agencies grew in 2025. So it's still clearly there's an uptick to the opportunity. most agencies inside our world, we see the financials of 300 or so agencies. Most of them were somewhere between 16 and 18% profitability, and they're predicting and projecting 20% profitability for 2026. So again, there's a lot of good opportunity out there if you are willing to evolve.
Yeah. What is, I'm sure there's probably agency owners that are listening to the podcast and they're at 0 to 5-10%.
Yeah.
Like what do you think those higher performing agencies, that 75%, what are they doing different?
I think they're doing several things different. Number one, without exception, they have narrowed down their focus and they are niched in some way. So the large generalists, we do everything for the butcher, baker, and candlestick maker. Those agencies are really struggling to even put double-digit profitability on the table, let alone getting close to 20%. Clients expect us to understand their business and they want a specialist. So that's number one. Number two, they're investing in professional development. They've got good people. A lot of agencies have said to me, you know what, I've got one of the best teams I've ever had. But that you cannot allow that good team to be stagnant. There's just too much that's changing in our world that if you're not continually educating your team and helping them get better, that's a problem. And employees tell us that their expectation is, hey, I expect you, agency owner, to pay me a healthy wage and help me develop skills for my future. And if you're not doing both of those, I probably am not going to stay very long. So it's both a retention strategy and also a leveling up strategy. The third thing they're doing is they are baking AI into operationally how they do their work. So it's not so much about using AI to put together client deliverables, although a lot of agencies are doing that too, but it's really about running my business more efficiently, more effectively by using AI tools. And the last thing they're doing is that they are recognizing that they cannot live on the feast and famine of new business. They have to build a new business machine where they're doing activity every single day. We actually released a new product or a new service last year called the Sales Momentum Learning Lab, where every week agency owners who subscribe to this service are getting very specific things they need to do around new business, around 5 different sort of core audiences. And then they are actually being held accountable. They have to email me every Friday and tell me what they did, and then I give them some feedback. But what we're seeing is when they start systemizing what they're doing, and when they're actively doing new business every single week, which is really hard to do when you're busy and you're onboarding a new client or whatever it may be, it's so easy to be distracted. But the ones that are systematizing new business so that they're constantly filling the pipeline, those are the activities that are putting 20% profit to the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, I know that your Build a Better Agency podcast reaches thousands of agency owners all around the globe. So it's not just, something in Colorado or,
Right.
The U.S. And I know you're reaching a lot of people, a lot of agency owners. What are you hearing today that agency owners are the most worried about?
I think there are 3 things that right now are, as the catchphrase is, are keeping agency owners up at night. Number one, I think they're worried about clients taking a lot of work in-house, whether it's with freelancers, an in-house team, or AI. Number 2, I think a lot of them are worried about the fact that AI can sort of minimize or marginalize work that they have historically had a high margin in doing. And number 3, I think in general, you think about the economy and the world economy right now, and it's sort of, we're at like a caution light all the time. Like we're not really sure what's going to happen next with the economy, and that's completely out of our control as agency owners. So I think those are the big 3 worries right now. Are my clients going to take it in-house? If they're going to continue to let me do the work, are they going to ask me to lower my prices because they think AI can do it faster, better? And 3, I have no control over the economy. And so the sales cycle is longer because clients are slowing down their decision-making because they're anxious.
Yeah. What are some of the bigger blind spots that maybe agency owners or that you're seeing with agencies?
The biggest blind spot is that we have time. We really don't have, we must begin the evolution now. I'm not saying, you have to completely wholesale change your agency, but you don't have another 2 or 3 years to watch and wait and see what happens with technology or AI or the economy. You do need to start making some changes and recognizing what clients are really asking for. And so not only do we have this trends report, but at the summit, we will also walk through every year. For the last 14 years, we've done research that we call the Agency Edge. And every year we talk to people who hire agencies about some aspect of that relationship. And last year, in 2025, we talked about sort of, hey, clients, how are you using AI? How do you think your agencies are using AI? And what do you sort of want from them? And this year, the focus, which will unveil all of this research at the summit, this year it was really about, hey, client, given AI's place in the world, what do you think you're going to need and want from agencies in the future? And we asked them to project out what they thought they were going to buy 3 and 5 years from now. And it's dramatically different than what we're selling now. And so we have to, as a business, begin to move on the path towards what they think is valuable about us. Otherwise, what we have to sell is not going to be sought after.
Well, I know that, we'll be airing this podcast after the Build a Better Agency Summit where you unveil all of that. But, what are some of the big headlines that you've learned from that report?
Yeah, the big one is when we gave them in the survey, we said, what are the top 3 things that you believe you'll buy from agencies? So again, we really limited their choices. So they had to be really judicious about what they picked. And by a 20% margin, the number one answer was AI implementation and governance inside my organization. So not you using AI on my behalf. It's you coming into my organization and setting up AI for me and then helping me set compliance and governance around that. That was the response to that was the number one response. It was 52% of the respondents. So over half, that was the number one thing they know they're going to buy from agencies. And the next answer down was 20 points lower. So if you as an agency are not capable of walking into a client today and helping them assess what their AI needs are, what their AI boundaries are, how AI can serve them, and by the way, not just in marketing, but in their entire organization. If you can't do that, understand that the number one thing that clients want to buy, that 52% of clients want to buy, you don't have on the menu for them to order. That to me is pretty significant.
Yeah, I know we briefly talked about even if you can't do it, building an ecosystem around you as an agency that you can go offer other partners
Absolutely,
AI
right?
tools.
They want you to bring them the solution, whether it's you are the solution or a partner is the solution, less important to them. But think about it. If you are working with a client and you're helping them build that AI infrastructure inside their organization, think about how sticky that makes you as an agency. We always worry about how long am I going to keep the client? Everybody else is chasing after my clients, especially if you're a project shop. I have to keep reselling them. But when you offer something like that is an ongoing service that continues to add more value, your value proposition increases naturally.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about, just speed, like we don't have the time. And I've heard that too on some of your podcasts, just about how clients expect things faster than they've ever expected it before with AI.
Right.
And I guess other than speed, what are some of the other client expectations that maybe are changing right now?
So I think here's the client recipe. Here's what they want. They want you to understand their business. So they want you niched in what they do.
Okay.
Right? Number 2, they want whoever is their point person, their account service person, to be a subject matter expert in their industry and be that business advisor and thought partner, right? That I can have a conversation with my account service person, whatever title you give them, that is an elevated business conversation. And by the way, not only that I can initiate that conversation, but that they're initiating those conversations with me. They're saying, hey, have you noticed this trend in your industry? We're tracking this trend, or we're seeing your competitor do that. So that's number 2. Number 3, they expect you to be an AI expert. and expert in terms of how you're using AI under your roof to serve them, but also, as we were just talking about, how they can use AI under their roof, but they want you to be the architect of that. Number 3, one of the things that we're seeing in studies like the Edelman Trust Barometer and other things, our world is more and more distrustful right now. We struggle to have confidence and trust in others. So transparency around billing and things like that become really critical, that we are a trusted partner, that they never have to worry if something isn't quite on the up and up. And I would say the last thing that they're looking for is, for most of us, we are not working with the business owner. We're working with a CMO or a VP of marketing. They have to justify how they spend the money of the business they work for. So they need metrics and measurement and dashboards that are built for the C-suite for them to understand, so that they can justify that we're the right partner and we're delivering the results that they want to have delivered for the dollars they're spending. That's the package they're looking for, and we as a business have to be able to deliver on all of those.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this in the past, Drew, about, mid-size, companies actually moving away from some of the big holding company agencies and going to really like your audience, which is the small to mid-size agencies out there. And I guess, talk a little bit about that, like what you're seeing, because I know it's probably speeding up pretty quickly on just, mid-size companies moving to a smaller to mid-size agency.
So there's been more M&A activity inside the agency space in the last couple of years than there has been in the last decade. Over $50 billion was spent in consolidation and agencies buying and being bought. And what we've been seeing, and if you're reading Ad Age or Adweek, what you're seeing is a lot of the big holding companies buying other holding companies, or buying larger independents and sucking them up into the holding companies. From the CMO's perspective, what that means is a couple of things. Number one, they're getting more and more homogenous, right? As they get bigger, they're less specialized. They aren't a niche agency anymore. Now they're serving the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. And if I'm a smaller fish in their pond, then I'm getting the B team. I'm getting the kids, the 23-year-olds. So what we're seeing is a lot of sort of mid-market companies are walking away from the larger sort of name brand holding companies and are willing to be open to the idea of working with a smaller independent agency, because that agency checks those boxes. It does have the specialty expertise of their industry. They are going to get a more senior team. They are going to get the attention that they want, and they're going to be a bigger fish in that agency's pond, which means that they're going to get more attention and time. And so the opportunity for independent agencies right now has probably never been better to kind of punch above their weight and to earn clients that are bigger perhaps than they've ever had before, because those clients are dissatisfied with the opportunities at the holding company level. And so again, for the agencies that are willing to evolve and sort of mature up to the future version of what an agency looks like, there's nothing but upside right now.
Yeah.
I believe that for most agencies, so I believe there's two things. One, I think we'll see fewer agencies a year from now or 2 years from now than we have today. But the agencies that survive are going to be healthier and more profitable than they've ever been before. So it really is a decision for every agency owner to make, which is, do I have enough gas in my tank to evolve my agency to the agency of the future? And if you do, it's a great time to own an agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we've touched on AI, and I guess, just as you look across all your like agencies, like, are clients starting to question whether or not they even need an agency?
I think what they are questioning is, do I need this vendor who sells me stuff that AI can now make? That I think they are questioning that. What they're not questioning, and in fact what they are increasingly valuing, is I need a human being who can connect the dots in a way that AI cannot. I need that thinking partner. I need that strategic advisor. I need that Sherpa to guide me into the future. And I also want somebody who does all of that, but uses AI appropriately to make me smarter and to make themselves smarter to have better strategy. But they recognize that one of the limitations of AI is that it regurgitates what it's already been fed, but it's not the generator of new ideas. It's not the generator of new connections between dots that seem disparate. So I believe what they're saying is, I want an elevated relationship with an agency who can sit at the C-suite table or the strategy table and help me really think about my business, study what my competitors are doing, anticipate what the world is going to bring, and then help me make the right choices to try and take advantage of all of these new opportunities that are presenting themselves in the marketplace. I think that's what every agency owner has said to me. I'm tired of being treated like a vendor. I want to be treated like a partner. Well, now's the time to kind of put your money where your mouth is. If that's really who you want to be, then evolve your agency so you can be that, because that's what they want to buy.
Yeah. Are you still shocked that, like, agencies, even though you're talking a lot about AI and the summit's going to be, heavily around AI. When you go to any conference, we're talking about AI, and still, and I've met so many great agency owners through AMI over the years, and then met a lot here in Nashville that some are still hesitant of, oh, we wouldn't use AI, or we only use it for these basic uses.
Yeah.
Are you still sometimes like shocked that that's the case?
I am surprised at how hesitant many agencies have been about going beyond sort of the basic chat GPT, create a bot. I think about some of the interesting things your agency is doing with lots of different tools to automate intelligence so that you are being constantly fed the best new trends. And even, one of the things that you're doing, which I don't see a lot of agencies do, is like reviewing your meetings and coaching you on how to be better for clients and for each other. So there's so many, what feels to me like table stakes things we could be doing with AI that a lot of agencies are not. Most agencies are not where your agency is at. Most agencies are, maybe they're using chat, maybe they're using Claude to do a little bit of writing, but they're really not automating things. They're not really building. The opportunity is to create AI employees, in essence, that have a specific responsibility and role that serve the rest of the team. I don't see a lot of that. I see a lot of people using it for research. I see a lot of people using it to mine their own RFP responses, to write a new RFP response. I see a lot of that sort of what to me feels like very basic level activity, but I don't see people actually thinking about, how can this actually be the equivalent of a human being who's working 24/7 on my behalf in some specialized capacity? And we have to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I've heard it on your podcast and others about, it has to be CEO led. And, you have to, CEOs have to make a huge effort in the AI, learning it, rolling it out to the team, and I feel like I try to do a really good job, but still there is there's still a fear of, is Mark or any other agency owner, are they trying to replace me? And, even though we stress it so much of we want you to have more time back, one, for your family, for for our clients, of where can we lean in on strategy. Right. But no matter how much you talk about it, I'm sure that you still see that out there. What's maybe a best practice you've seen of rolling this out to your team in a way that they all completely embrace it?
I don't know that you can make someone embrace it.
Yeah.
I think you can set the example. I think you can build out processes and tools and bots to do things that are that repetitive task that frankly, in most agencies, nobody wants to do anyway. And that give you more. That's, I think, the part that a lot of employees don't understand is that the whole point of AI is not to diminish what I do. It's actually to give me more so I can do better. And at some point in time, I can remember way back in the day, I was very young in my career, and this will age me a little bit, but we were moving from art directors doing everything by hand to doing everything on a computer. And I was with Y&R at the time. And I can remember a very well-respected older gentleman. He was one of the creative directors there who was adamant that he was not going to use a computer, that he was going to keep doing things with his sketch pen and all of the other things. Well, you know what? 6 months later, we had a retirement party for him. And I think that's what we're getting to is all we can do is show our employees the power of AI and how it actually makes them better at their job and lets them do more of the work that we all love to do, that deep strategic thinking. And like that's the juicy part of our work. But if they're not willing to embrace it, if they're not willing to experiment with it, if they're not willing to be open to the fact that maybe it's a tool that would make them better at their job, then very quickly they're going to become obsolete and we will be having retirement parties for them too. Yeah. That's the reality.
You know, Drew, you touched a little bit on pricing, and I remember last year at the summit, you released your study, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like number 37 on the list was the clients actually want you to decrease prices because you're using AI.
Yeah.
What are you seeing today from like a pricing, profitability standpoint?
So you're referencing the Agency Edge study from 2025, which in your show notes, I'll make sure you have a link so people can download that. And then I'll get you the link to download the 26 study as well. But in that study, we said, if your agency is using AI, what do you want out of that? And you're right, down like way down. Like the 36th most common response was cheaper prices for my agency. So we asked that question again in 2026, and the numbers did not change. Clients aren't looking for cheaper. They're looking for faster and better. That's what they care about. And so as long as we deliver faster and better, there is no reason why we will have to compromise on price.
Yeah. Is there, I know we've touched on it a little bit, but is there like just one hard truth that agency owners don't want to face right now?
If you are a generalist agency that mostly sells execution, you have to understand that your days are numbered.
Yeah.
That's the hard truth. That if that's really what you bring to the party, that between freelancers and AI and international talent, any client can get that cheaper and as fast, and frankly, within their scope of the ability to discern quality, just as good. And so if you're not willing to specialize, and if you're not willing to sort of level up your strategy game, odds are you have a limited lifespan. That's the hard truth. And that gets back to me saying I do think we'll have fewer agencies because there are a lot of agencies that's what they do, right? They sell the execution. In fact, they give away the strategy to get the execution work. And agencies that behave on that model are going to be obsolete.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know a lot of the agency owners or most of the agency owners that are in your org are all trying to scale. They're all trying to grow, get better. And I guess, is there a big mistake maybe that you see that other agencies are making when they're trying to grow? Like, what is that?
I think one of the biggest I think there are two mistakes, and we've talked about both of them in a different context. Number one is not recognize. So they try and grow horizontally rather than vertically. In other words, I am a PR agency and now I'm going to offer content and SEO and PPC and ad campaigns. So they're trying to grow horizontally as opposed to I'm going to grow vertically, which means I'm going to be more valuable to a specialty audience with my niche. I'm going to know more about them than anybody else so that I can help them in a deeper, more meaningful way. That's mistake number one. And number two is that they are not investing in continuing to level up their talent. So professional development for your A players is mission critical. A, if you want to keep them, and B, they have to keep getting better to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm. So if I were an agency owner today, based on everything you've told me today, and help me fill in the gaps if I miss anything, but the first thing would be to find the niche and niche down, become the subject matter expert in whatever industry vertical you're selling into. Then it's to embrace the AI and to not only utilize it for your own operations and to improve your organization, but also how can I leverage this to go to my clients to do better work? Right? It's to be able to produce better, higher quality work faster than you've ever done in the past, or that any other agency's done in the past. It's to
charge a premium for it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it too, because we still have to run profitable businesses.
Yeah.
And when we deliver at that level, when you think of me as a specialist and I deliver better work faster, I'm worth more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the team development is to continually learn yourself, but also to continually develop your team into better in each of their niches within the agency.
Yeah, and I think the thing you have to think about with employees is you have to treat them all fairly, but that doesn't mean equally. So some of your employees show up and they punch in and they punch out and it's a job. And other employees show up and it's their career, and they're investing their own time on their own time and their own dime to learn how to get better. Those are the employees that you want to double down on, and you want to invest your time and your dime on making them better so that they stay and they keep adding exponential value to your clients.
Yeah.
Right? That's the key, is that your A players want to keep getting better, and that's a shared responsibility and a shared opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drew, this has been fabulous. I know I'm gonna ask you a few rapid fire questions, but also maybe is there anything that I didn't ask you that maybe you think the audience ought to know?
I think one of the interesting things, and it is the focus of my keynote for the summit, is we talk a lot about what we have to do different, and we talk a lot about how we have to do different, but we're not really talking about how do we have to show up as leaders, as agency owners? How do we have to be different to lead our team into this new evolution of agencies? And how are some of our habits and our behaviors? For example, if you've been in the business a long time, you're used to being the expert. You had all the answers. Well, the reality is today, with every corner, there's going to be something new that you and I have, even though we've been in the business a long time, we have never seen it before. So how we show up as owners has to change. We have to be more open to exploration and to experimentation and to not having all the answers and to being the Sherpa who understands how to guide clients and our team along this path, but also recognizing that we have to keep learning too. And so I do think there is a shift in how owners have to show up if they're going to survive and thrive in the next 3, 5, 8, 10 years.
Great insights. Well, Drew, we're going to do a quick rapid fire Q&A for today's 30-second Spark.
All right, let's do it.
And we're lucky enough to have you in Nashville, knowing that you travel here from Denver for a couple reasons, but most importantly for your family, because you've got a son that goes to Vanderbilt University, and you and Danielle, your wife, come here to visit. But also, we have the luxury of spending a couple days with you every quarter of you coaching Snapshot and our company to, continue to grow, niche down, be better, just all the things that you've really leaned in and helped us out over the last couple of years. So I appreciate that. But knowing that, you get to taste some Nashville stuff while you're in town.
Right.
Just maybe say the first word that pops into your head whenever I ask you these questions.
Okay.
So first one, Ryman or an arena show?
Ryman.
Okay. hot chicken, on a scale of mild to regret, where do you stop?
So for many of my family, they're on the regret side, but I am on the super mild side.
You're on the southern.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fried chicken, good. Hot chicken, not so good. Yep.
Okay. Black coffee or latte with enough syrup to be a dessert?
Absolutely the dessert. I don't need to taste the coffee, but I need the caffeine. Yep.
Okay, that's surprising.
Yep.
Worst industry buzzword of 2026?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to say AI-centric agency. Like that's a differentiator when every agency on the planet needs to have AI inside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. AI, your creative assistant or your replacement?
Oh, it's my thinking partner.
Yeah.
It makes me better, but definitely my creative assistant for sure.
Yeah. The death of billboards, fact or fiction?
Fiction. As long as we're driving, we have to have something to look at, and there's something incredibly powerful about that 7-word or less message that gets us to make choices.
Yeah. Okay. TikTok trends. Are you a participant or observe from a distance?
I am an observe from a distance.
Okay. The most underrated skill in marketing?
I believe today the most underrated skill in marketing is really great creative writing. I think we have farmed that out, and I think that's still, at the end of the day, it's storytelling.
Yeah. The best way to find the spark when you're stuck in a creative rut?
The best way to find a spark would be to collaborate and talk out loud with a great thinking partner.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks, Drew, for going through that. And, I really appreciate all you're doing for the agency community around the world. It's been so impressive to meet so many agency owners at the Build a Better Agency Summit you do every year in May, and listen to your podcast. I've listened to it for years, and it was great to meet you in person, reach out, and then ultimately land you as our coach. So appreciate all the support you've given me, the friendship we built, you being our very first guest on the Spark podcast as we launched, and now coming back a year later to just continue to share your insights and expertise with the Nashville creative community.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us on another episode of The Spark. I'll drop all of Drew's information in the show notes. If you're not going to his agency summit every year, I would definitely recommend it, or to become a part of the AMI community. If this episode's done anything for you, please subscribe, rate, and review, just so we can get this message out to more creative folks in town. And then we'll see you next week on The Spark.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Thanks for spending time with us and exploring the minds shaping Nashville's creative future. If you're walking away more inspired, connected, or energized, that's exactly the point. A big thank you to our sponsor, Snapshot, and the incredible team behind the scenes who make this show possible. Your support fuels every conversation and keeps collaboration alive. So if you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.